Hello, everyone. Welcome to, I think, our 54th episode or 55th. Who cares? We don't care about numbers anymore. The Security Podcast. We got a good show, but just first, some house cleaning. This should be on next week, but the Thanksgiving week, I don't know if we're gonna have time to find time to record the show. So if you don't see us, we're enjoying our time with our families. So anyway, let's say hi to Tom and let's get started.
Howdy.
Hey, Tom. So we had a lot of security news break, I don't know, in the last day and a half.
Yeah, lots of stuff.
But I think we have some follow-up.
Yep. So the first thing we want to get into is we got an email from a viewer. It was a long, involved, technical, awesome email. We love getting those. And it was encrypted with PGP, which is doubly awesome. Again, you can hit my website. It should be on the lower third. Yeah, right there, that part. If you want to get my PGP key and send me an encrypted message, I love receiving them. But there's a couple things we need to mention. Some people don't like putting things on the internet, especially not passwords. Even if, we've said LastPass is really secure and it does a lot of things great, and any security issue has been fixed really quickly and really responsibly. Some people just don't like the idea of putting things on the internet, and I can't fault them with that. LastPass isn't perfect. I know we like to talk about it here. We both use it, but it's not perfect. There are some pitfalls with it that could render your passwords exposed. And I just want to mention those because this guy made a bunch of really great points, and I have to agree with him on it. So we wanted to make sure, be completely transparent with you guys and say, look, there are alternatives, and there are ways LastPass can fail you. So LastPass is based in the browser. It's based on the web. It's an extension. One of the ways it can fail is if your browser is compromised in some way. If there's some malware that's injected in your browser or running on your operating system, and it decides to either inspect your traffic or take over some of the JavaScript on your machine. We saw that at DerbyCon, or we heard about it at DerbyCon, that someone was able to replace some JavaScript files and collect stuff from LastPass. Kind of a targeted attack, but it still happened. Malware could potentially do the same thing. It could change your DNS, it could install security certificates in Windows or into your browser and give you some compromised JavaScript files from what appears to be the LastPass servers, and you're giving your passwords away at that point. You're giving your master password away. And it's, you don't ever truly know 100% of the time. You can inspect everything, you can make sure your system's clean, you can make sure that you can compare MD5 sums on LastPass and say, yeah, this is the correct JavaScript, and then execute it. But it's a whole lot of work to do that. You're never going to be 100% secure with any solution, including the alternative we're going to propose here in just a second. I like LastPass. I use LastPass. I think it's one of the best, hit the nail on the head right between convenience and security, but it's not perfect. And I just want to make sure that you guys know that it's not infallible. It's really good. It's great, and I personally use it every day, but it is not 100% secure. Nothing's 100% secure, but it's pretty good, I think. The alternative, or one of the alternatives rather, is a program called KeePass. And KeePass runs on your local system, and there's an encrypted password database. So you can use you can use what's called key files. So you can use an actual file along with a password or passphrase as kind of your decryption key. So you have to have something you have and something you know to unlock this database of passwords. And it's really good. I've used this program before. It's not as shiny as LastPass, but it's got a lot of features. It's got some stuff LastPass doesn't have, including Google Authenticator. And that's not like two-factor authentication that you can use to log into it. No. You can take your two-factor authentication and put it in there. Just like you have to look at your phone to get those numbers, you could put those in KeePass and get the numbers from it using a plugin. Really cool stuff. And then you can back up that database onto a server you control, onto an encrypted vault somewhere. Like you can put it in a TrueCrypt archive and throw that in on Dropbox, Google Drive. You can GPG encrypt it. You can get like really crazy with KeePass. Um, it's really, really secure, and I do really like KeePass, but it's a little more
Problem.
difficult to use.
Well, yeah, I was going to say it's difficult to use. It's difficult to explain, and like you keep on saying, it's not shiny.
Right. Yeah.
And there's no. I mean, there's message forum support, but there's no like someone you can call or email and get an answer from. I mean, it's open source. Look, yeah, absolutely. I think I started with KeePass, and I liked it, but then LastPass came out, and I said, you know what? It's a browser extension. I don't have to carry a USB key around. It's it's just for me overall, LastPass is simpler. And yeah, I get it. Somebody can like you said, DNS spoof in or compromise the machine or anything else, but that's what you have to deal with.
Right, right. And it's one of those things you have to decide. I can go through a lot more effort to use KeePass and be more secure, or I can lose some security and go to LastPass, but have it be a lot more convenient. And that's the constant battle. And I want to give people, the option and the information to say there are alternatives. LastPass is not the only solution out there. KeePass for the longest time was really the only choice when it came to password storage because it was the best and the shiniest around. And now we're actually seeing some competition in the password manager space, and that's a great thing. But just wanted to let you guys know and give you some other options out there. And I love the feedback email. Keep it coming. It's great.
So I mean, like we said, it's we're trying to tell you what the easiest way is, and for us, I feel like LastPass is the answer. I mean, we all know how to continue to KeePass, but imagine trying to explain KeePass to your grandmother or to your mother, whereas LastPass almost seems like a a, a hard enough challenge. KeePass will take it off the charts. And I don't think your grandmother has much to worry about when it comes to something really bad, but again,
For those non-technical people in your life, KeePass is probably a stretch. It's been done before, I'm sure. But teaching my family members about LastPass was so much easier than trying to get them on any other security software, including KeePass. I only did that once. It was not pretty. Um, but yeah, that's about it there. But we do have some news. We've got some awesome news, and then even more awesome news after that.
wow. Okay, well, let's start with less awesome news.
The less awesome news, but still pretty awesome, the EFF has teamed up with a lot of companies to create Let's Encrypt, and it will launch in 2015. Let's Encrypt is a certificate authority to encrypt the entire web. Now, at first glance, just like, great, it's another CA, another certificate of authority. Couldn't I go to VeriSign or SSLs or Cheap SSL or Namecheap or someone, anyone?
The Hong Kong Post Office?
Yeah, I could go to the Hong Kong Post Office and get an SSL cert for, 10, 20, up to, several $1,000s a year if I really wanted to pay that much. What's another CA going to do? Well, the entire point behind this initiative is to just let anyone encrypt everything forever, encrypt all the domain names. There's no cost. It's free. It'll be recognized by browsers, or at least they're purporting it will be. It's not out yet. This means you can just say, hey, I've got this website, I want a security certificate for it, give me a cert. And all the traffic's encrypted then. They're going to make it really easy to get a certificate. They're going to make it super easy to just generate, sign, all that stuff. It'll be great. Are there potential spoofing issues with this? Maybe. We'll see how they combat that, but this is being run by a lot of guys who really know their stuff. And on top of that, it's going to take a bunch of clear text websites that have been operating like that for years and years and years, either because it costs too much, or it's annoying to install, or I'm just confused and I don't know where to go. And those guys are going to be able to encrypt all of their traffic just for the fun of it. I know a lot of my websites, just because I don't really want to buy a wildcard SSL cert, because I've got a lot of subdomains, and I don't want to have to buy a cert for each of the 30 websites I'm running or have access to. I have avoided encrypting a lot of them, and that's kind of sad. I really should go through the effort of encrypting everything, if not most things. But this is going to solve that problem for me personally, and for a lot of other people that are either just worried about the cost or the time involved. It's not hard to get an SSL cert, but it is expensive today.
I mean, I can probably get one for $50. But the problem is, I don't make any money. We don't make any money on this podcast. My HiveTime.com doesn't make any money. So to outlay $50 a year for it, for people just reading text, to me doesn't seem like it's worth it. However, if it was cheaper, if it was not prohibitively expensive, like you're saying, it's either free or some couple dollars a year, you know what? It's a no-brainer. Absolutely, let's go to it.
Yeah, and I don't want to say this too loud or anything. I don't want anyone kicking in my door. This makes it that much harder for the NSA to just grab traffic out of the air. It's that much data they have to sift through and try to crack. It's just adding on to the pile. And at this point, the sites that aren't encrypted, that will be encrypted thanks to this project going live, it's just more random noise that's utterly useless that people will have to sift through. This is a great thing. I'm surprised no one has done this before. So I want to give props to the companies involved. First and foremost, the EFF, who were prominently featured last episode. These guys do fantastic work. So if you can, the EFF, lives on donations. I give every year, and I know they can use it, and they're using it to do great things. So the EFF, Mozilla, Cisco, Akamai, IdenTrust, and researchers at the University of Michigan are the people behind Let's Encrypt. And again, it's not out today. It'll be out in 2015. Now, whether that's January or whether that's December 2015, we don't know. But you can be guaranteed we will do an episode on it when it comes out. We might even do a demo.
Well, what I'm hoping for is, as we know, I've failed miserably. Well, I'm not completely out of the woods yet, trying to create a home VPN using OpenSSL on a Raspberry Pi. And I'm getting stuck on like the dumbest thing. But I'm hoping that this is a certificate I can buy. I can put it on the home VPN server and make my life way easier than trying to deal with OpenSSL.
Yeah, OpenSSL is not pretty software to work with. And no end user in the world is going to touch OpenSSL ever. It's really for server guys and for people building services like you and I. But even then, I always have to look at the man page. I always have to look online for, just to remember the syntax of the various things I'm looking at. It's one of the issues with that program is it does so much, but hardly any care has been put into the way it actually feels to use. There's no wizard. There's no any steps to go through. It's weird, archaic series of commands you have to remember. So this is going to make it good.
Well, look, I hope, and with Google recently ranking SSL sites higher, I mean, that's one of their many signals. This will be good. You'll feel more. You won't only just feel secure. You will actually be more secure.
Yeah, absolutely. So beyond that, related to the episode we did last week, talking about all kinds of messaging apps, their encryption, we discussed one in particular. We discussed a lot of them, but one in particular, WhatsApp, as look, they're encrypted in transit. They haven't, if I remember correctly, they hadn't been audited. They didn't do end-to-end encryption. It wasn't encrypted so WhatsApp couldn't read it. WhatsApp was famously bought by Facebook for a whole bunch of money. Today, they just announced they're doing end-to-end encryption in a really super secure kind of way where even they cannot decrypt your messages. Keep in mind, guys, this is Facebook. Facebook just did end-to-end encryption before Google did it on Hangouts, before a bunch of people did it, before, I mean, really, they're kind of the biggest player right now that's using end-to-end encryption in their messages. This is awesome.
Well, let's play devil's advocate here for a second. We did say last week, and I think we both agreed, that Facebook, if they can't keep the data, they don't want anyone else to have the data. And I think what they're learning about is that I don't think they necessarily care what gets sent in a text message. I think they just want the users. So if it's not a money-making proposition inside the app, I mean, and remember, WhatsApp is $1 a year. So they are making money. And remember,
Yeah.
they have something like they have almost 1 billion users. So $1 a year, that's $1 billion a year in revenue.
That's kind of a large number. I didn't realize it was $1 a year. I've never used WhatsApp beyond just, looking at it or looking over the shoulder of people who were using it.
I mean, it's a text messaging app. In the U.S. at this point, unless you're holding on to some unlimited plan, everything gets free text messaging. So nobody here really cares. I mean, that's why in the U.S. we were so shocked by it. But you go outside of the U.S., everyone's using WhatsApp. It is the thing. So especially when you're traveling, people say, "Oh, here's my WhatsApp," instead of text message or SMS. So again, $1 a year is nothing to do international text messaging.
Yeah, that's really nice. And when you consider what Facebook is looking at, the data they care about, they really probably care more about the connections between users than they care about the contents of the messages. And again, that's the problem with email, even with PGP. That's the problem with the vast majority of messaging apps is, Facebook, and really the NSA for that matter, just cares about drawing dots and lines between people to connect them. Not necessarily the contents of the messages, but to see what the relationships are, how often people talk to each other, at what times do they talk to each other. So I'm sure they are still getting some data from it, but encryption of any kind not of any kind, but strong, good encryption of your messages to where they can't reverse engineer it themselves, this is a huge step in the right direction. This is utterly fantastic. And kudos to Facebook, kudos to WhatsApp. This is what needed to happen.
And like I
So
said,
if you're
go
looking
ahead.
for an actual secure messaging app for Android, because we discussed iMessage. iMessage is really good. If you're looking for something that's kind of hitting the high marks today, I have to recommend WhatsApp.
I mean, they didn't go through code review or anything like that, but like you said, all the good check marks. It's encrypted end to end. It's encrypted, so Facebook can't get it. So it's perfect forward secrecy, and I think it doesn't use your username. It uses some sort of hex key to identify you. Right? So
This is really nice. And we should also mention where the code came from so these guys could do it. These guys actually used code written by the Open Whisper systems, the people that do Signal, Red Phone, and Text Secure. So we already know that code is really good. They took some of the open source stuff that Open Whisper helped with and decided to use that to build it into WhatsApp.
well, I completely forgot about that. You're right. When I did read the article, they did say that they were using that software. So yes, and remember, WhatsApp was bought by Facebook, and it was recently. So it's not like Facebook got their hands all over it. I think one of the things was it was going to be a self-contained app that Facebook really wasn't going to mess with.
Yeah,
So I mean,
this is
it looks
fantastic.
good.
I really like this. It says, rarely in security do we get to talk about the great, awesome things that are happening, like encryption just everywhere, popping out of the woodwork. For either free or cheap or existing systems that weren't secure, just getting hardened and really secure without there needing to be a breach of any kind. Like this is great news. This is fantastic. And go out and celebrate. Buy yourself an encryption cake. Just take a cake and scramble it all up. And somebody says, "Why did you destroy the cake?" Say, "No, it's encrypted. This is an encryption cake.
That's
You
not
still
better.
eat it. It doesn't look like anything unless you have the key."
That's a good one. Okay, what's next? So
So
is
we
that
have
it? I
that.
mean,
Let me see. I think that's about it. There's some general tech stuff that's kind of cool. People in the security community are still complaining that PGP is still too hard to use for normal people. Um,
so that whatever comic that was, I saw that.
we did have, and unfortunately, people are still trying to get the details. And I don't know if details are ever going to come out, like real substantial details. Um, but there was a guy who was working tech support, and his boss kept getting malware, and they weren't sure where it was coming from. They've gone through logs, they installed a bunch of security software, no idea where it came from. This guy was using a USB charger for his vaporizer, for his e-cigarette. Uh, Apparently, that charger came from China, and the device was loaded up with malware, and it kept infecting his computer every time he plugged it in. So now we've got a case, at least one case of you know, a seemingly innocuous product being loaded up with malware. So it definitely makes the case for some of those what they call USB condoms, which essentially isolate the data pins and only allow power to come through. So
Look,
just something small, something interesting. Be careful what you plug into your computer.
well, yeah, and what I was gonna finish up with is I don't. You're probably hearing this the week of Thanksgiving, Black Friday being the next day. Just, just while you're shopping, just ask yourself: Are we secure? Are we doing the right thing?
And I'm sure we'll talk about this just like we did. I think we did this last year. Talked about what can you do for family members.
Yeah.
How do we clean up computers? How do we teach people to move more secure? What do I do with all the new gadgets that my family members are going to get? How do I make sure they're not going to hurt themselves or other people by misusing them or by not using it in the right way with the right security settings, etc. So we're going to get going into that kind of stuff. One thing I can recommend, for the more technical people, show them KeyPass, show them LastPass, show them both. Just try to get a little bit more password security. That goes a long way. And we'll keep going through, and as we get closer to the holidays, we'll have more for you to do and have more tips and tricks to try to keep things secure and clean.
And I'll just finish off. This is completely, sort of not related. I told Tom before we started, if you're not watching the newsroom this for its final season, don't worry about the first two. Just get into it now. They have an angle on somebody getting arrested for treason and violation of the Patriot Act and the Wire Fraud Act, and they're going from there. That's all I'll say. If you want to wait the whatever 12, 13 weeks for it to end, that's fine. If you want to buy HBO for it or somehow find a way to get it legally, go for that. But I'll leave you with that teaser because it does hit, and Aaron Sorkin does the show well. So all the facts may not be there, but at least it's done without trying to lie about the facts.
And send your tweets, send your emails, send us funny quotes that InfoSec Taylor Swift sends us, or that she tweets out. We like responding to things. We like helping out. If you guys have problems, questions, whatever, send them our way.
Yeah, so anyway, that's it for us. If we take next week off, you won't know, but we'll be back then in 2 weeks. Or if we find time, we'll be on next week. Have a good night, everybody.
See you guys.
Bye.